All right, starting lesson 4, fractions, percentages, and decimals. Okay, so fractions. Fractions, percentages, and decimals are all different ways of expressing the same quantity. All right, they're all different ways of expressing the same thing. All right, so a half, 50%, and 0.5 are all the same thing. They're all the same quantity. All right, it just depends on the context, which one you use. So converting a fraction to a percentage. Let's figure out how to convert from one to another. So to convert a fraction to a percentage, you need to rewrite the fraction so it has a denominator of 100. All right, the numerator represents the equivalent percentage of the fraction. Okay, let's see how this works out. Part A. 10 times what gives you 100? Well, just multiply it by 10. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 30 over 100. So the number on the top represents your equivalent percentage, 30%. Next one. 4 times what is 100? Well, there's 4 quarters in a dollar. 25 over 100. All right, so we have 25%. Next one, 2/5. 5 times what is 100? That would be 20. 40 over 100. That's 40%. All right, then you have 6 over 8. Can you multiply 8 by anything to get 100? No. So what do you do in this case? Well, can we simplify the fraction? Yeah, we could do that. So I get 3/4. Okay, now this is much easier to do. Multiply 4 by 25, top and bottom, 75 over 100. All right, 75%. All right, going on to the next example. All right, going from a percentage to a fraction. So to convert a percentage to a fraction, put the number over 100 and simplify the fraction. So let's rewrite 50% as 50 over 100. And then simplifying this, 50 goes into both. I get 1 over 2. All right, next one I have 60%. So it's going to be 60 over 100. Well, let's see what goes into both. 10 definitely goes into both. So that's going to be 6/10. And then 2 goes into both. All right, you don't have to do it exactly this way, but this is just one way of doing it. So it's 3/5. 45%. 45 over 100. 5 goes into both. 9 over 20. Right, done with that one. 16%. 16 over 100. All right, divide both by 2. 8 over 50. Divide both by 2. 4 over 25. Done with that one. All right. And converting a percentage to a decimal. To convert a percentage to a decimal, simply move the decimal to the blank 2 times. To the left. All right, just think Beyonce. All right, so here we have 80%. There's always a decimal there. If you don't see a decimal, it's at the very right. So here it is. Move it to the left twice. So the equivalent decimal is 0.8. For the next one, it's going to be 0.35. For the next one, it's going to be 0.12. And for the next one, it will be not 0.1. So many students do that. Be careful of this. Remember, move the decimal to the right twice. So if not to the right, sorry, to the left twice. If I move it to the left, there's going to be a gap there. What do you put in the gap? A 0. So it's 0.01. That makes a huge difference. All right, make sure not to write 0.1. That's a very common error. All right, going on to the next example. All right, converting a decimal to a percentage. All right, to convert a decimal to a percentage, you simply need to move the decimal to the right 2 times. All right, so here we have to the right 1, 2. All right, so in the gap you fill 0. So it's going to be 70%. All right, next one, 1, 2, it's going to be 15%. Next one, 1, 2, it's going to be 38%. And then 1, 2, it's going to be 3%. All right, and the next one, converting a fraction to a decimal. To convert a fraction to a decimal, first convert the fraction to a percentage, and then to a decimal. All right, so this isn't that difficult to do. Just take it step by step. So I have to multiply this one by 25, top and bottom. So I get 75 over 100. Okay, so I get 75%. And now once it's in a percentage form, I just move the decimal over twice, and I get my decimal form. All right, same thing here. Multiply top and bottom by 20. I get 80 over 100, which is 80%. All right, decimal is always at the very right. If there's nothing there, move it to the left twice. 0.8 is my equivalent decimal. All right, next one. I can't multiply 30 by anything to get 100. I could divide both of these by 2 to simplify. So I get 6 over 15. Well, that still doesn't help, but I could still simplify it. So divide top and bottom by 3, and I get 2/5. Okay, so 5 times 20 is 100. There we go. So that's 40%. As a decimal, it's 0.4. All right, then you have times 2, top and bottom, 6 over 100. All right, so I end up with 6%. And it's a decimal at the end here, so we move it over twice, fill a 0 in the gap, you get 0.06. All right, that's all there is to that. Going on to the last examples. Converting a decimal to a fraction. To convert a decimal to a fraction, first convert the decimal to a percentage, and then to a fraction. All right, so example 6, write the percentage as a decimal. So I just move, or this should say write the decimal as a percentage. Oh, it should actually say write the decimal as a fraction. Okay, so move over twice. I got 70%. Then I put this over 100. All right, what goes into both of these? 10. So I get 7/10. All right, done. Next one, move the decimal over twice, fill in the 0, so I got 40%. Then put the number over 100, so I have the fraction. I'll divide 10 into both of these. I get 4 over 10. Then I'll divide them both by 2. So I get 2/5. All right, next one, move over twice. I get 55%. I get 55 over 100. Divide both by 5. And I get 11 over 20. Last one, I have 6%. So I have 6 over 100. And I'll divide both by 2. So I get 3 over 50. All right, done with that one. All right, now I have challenging conversions. All right, what are we doing here? When a fraction cannot be changed to a denominator of 100, you must use long division. Okay, so you've learned all these different methods to convert from one form to another, but here in these last examples here, we have some tricky situations. So here we have 3/8. It's as simplified as it could be. You can't multiply 8 by anything to get 100. What do? We divide 8 into 3. All right, but that doesn't work. So you add a decimal on and a 0. Then you divide 8 into 30. How many times does it go in there? It goes in there 4 times. 4 times 8 is 24. Difference is 6. Add on another 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 60 how many times? It goes in there 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. The difference is 4. Now once you have two values here, you could stop at that point. All right, just bring the decimal up. And you have the equivalent decimal, which is 47.47. And if I want the percentage, just move the decimal over twice. 47%. All right, so you can do this by hand. You don't need a calculator. If you want to use a calculator, that's fine, but it's always good to know how to do this by hand. All right, so now how many times does 13 go into 4? All right, because we can't multiply 13 by anything to get 100. All right, well, it doesn't go into 4, so we add a decimal and a 0 on. 13 goes into 40 3 times. 3 times 13 is 39. Difference is 1. Bring down the 0. Okay, so 13 goes into 10. It doesn't go in. It's 0. 0 times 13 is 0. Difference is 10. And we could continue going on and bring down the 0 and figure out how many times 13 goes into 100. But you just need 2 digits. All right, bring up the decimal. So we have 0.30 or 30%. All right, then you have 7/16. Just as a little side note, if we divide 13 into 100, that goes in there 65, 78, 81, 91. Goes in there 7 times. Then we would get 91, and then you could find the difference. But we got this number. All right, so then I would end up with 0.307, or I would end up with 30.7%. So you can have a decimal in your percentage, all right, if you're going to be more precise. If you would have given this as the answer, that would be fine, but this on the bottom here is being more precise. Okay, then we have 16 goes into 7. How many times? It doesn't go in, so we add on a 0. 16 goes into 70. How many times? It goes in there 4 times. And 4 times 16 is 64. Difference is 6. Bring down the 0. 16 goes into 60. How many times? It goes in there 3 times. 3 times 16 is 48. Difference is 12. All right, we have 2 digits. At that point, you could stop. Bring the decimal point up. So I have 0.43 or 43%. All right, do not skip these on your assignment. Okay, make sure you ask questions if you have any. Begin the assignment at the bottom of the webpage.